Hello everyone, this is Paul, the Oaken Knight, and today we will take a look at the deluxe version of Compass's Designer Signature Edition of the African Campaign, an original design by John Edwards from way back in 1974 when I was actually still in high school. And deluxe is right, as we will see the production value of this one is impressive indeed. But first, some background. The African Campaign allows players to recreate the North African Campaign in a relatively simple, playable format from December 1940 to December 1942. For the first few turns, Rommel's Afrika Korps has not yet arrived, and play consists of the British Eighth Army chopping the Italians up into so much salami, at least until the Germans arrive. Despite extending across 50 turns, each turn simulating half a month, a game may be played in a single, albeit long, playing session. The original game, published by Jetco, an Australian company, fit right in with other games from that era. First, the zones of control are rigid so that moving units must stop upon entering a hex adjacent to an enemy combat unit. Furthermore, units may not move directly from an enemy zone of control to another enemy zone of control without first pulling out into the clear and only then entering another. Zones of control are impermeable. Second, movement is single impulse, so there is only one movement phase for each player in their turn, and units may move and have combat but once each player turn. The radical advance of double impulse movement I first experienced in the Russian campaign, ironically another John Edwards design also released at about the same time, did not find its way here. Third, it is an Igo-Yugo design where players alternate player turns. And finally, fourth, combat is obligatory whenever zones of control overlap. Opposing units projecting a zone of control into a hex with a friendly unit must be attacked. Low odds attacks, known as soak-off attacks back in the day, may be used to meet this requirement, allowing a higher odds attack on an adjacent enemy unit. The African Campaign harkens back to the strategy games published by Avalon Hill way back in the 1960s, such as Stalingrad, D-Day, and yes, Afrika Korps. The main exception is the step reduction combat system, which is similar to Anzio, a slightly later Avalon Hill title. Yes, my friends, the African Campaign is a heaping slice of old school, and referring to it as Advanced Afrika Korps is not that far off the mark. Let's take a look at what makes this most recent version of the game deluxe. The 17 by 50.5-inch map is a hard-mounted piece of magnificence with an attractive low-glare finish. It is relatively long and somewhat narrow, supporting the sweeping movements and limited flanking attacks that happen during the actual campaign. It contains the full 50-turn turn record track with annotations for reinforcements, replacements, and airpoint availability for both sides. Finally, it has enough rule reminders to qualify as a player's aid in its own right, focusing play where it belongs, on the map, rather than in the rulebook. 176 5/8-inch counters and markers are printed on something close to double-thickness material. They are satisfyingly chunky. No tweezers needed here. Picking up these guys and moving them across the map just feels good, and the low-glare finish is easy on the eyes. All the usual player aid cards are provided, although not needed so much as the CRT, terrain effects chart, and Axis infantry/fuel supply table are also printed right on the map. 2 orders of battle cards are also provided, showing the at-start setup, reinforcements, withdrawals, and in some cases re-entry of units for the 2 years of the campaign. Given that units reduce by steps, the chart also holds lower strength replacement counters for 3 and 4-step units. In addition, some units can be on the map as a division, but can also be broken down into multiple lower echelon units and can lead to some confusion as to which counters should be placed on map at any given time. That's pretty much just a normal part of any step reduction mechanic that must simply be embraced and loved. On-map unit density is low and stacking is modest, making the game appear uncluttered even after forces have ramped up. The featured 50 half-month turns may seem like a lot of turns, but the low unit count on both sides makes it possible for time to tick by very quickly. The 16-page rulebook is printed on standard semi-gloss paper. The 9 pages of basic game rules purposefully stick close to the original rules written by John Edwards back in the day. 3-column format is used, similar to the old SBI case format, and uses a font that I personally find to be a bit on the small side. It's reasonable, if not entirely comfortable. As might be expected, supply is an important consideration, particularly for the Axis. Units on both sides must trace a supply line free of opposing zones of control no longer than 15 hexes long to a road running without interruption back to a supply source. Permanent supply sources are Alexandria for the Allies and Tripoli for the Axis. Other supply sources such as Tobruk and Benghazi are available, but only to the current owner. The 15 hex limit is particularly important as there are situations where units in the deep desert may have opportunities to penetrate deeper into enemy territory, but that would take them out of supply if they did. Life is made up of tough choices. The Axis must also track its fuel reserves. 1 fuel point is needed for an Axis unit to move more than 2 movement points, or 4 via strategic movement. While road movement is a generous 5 hexes per movement point, everywhere else it is 1-to-1. Without fuel, the Axis advance will slow to a crawl, which the 8th Army can use to keep just out of reach if they are pulling back. Fuel points are received along with Italian and German infantry replacements via die roll and reading the result on the Axis infantry replacement and fuel table. Fuel is possibly added to the total at the start of each month. Up to 10 fuel points may be accumulated. Unused points may be rolled over from turn to turn, but the maximum of 10 fuel points is in effect at all times. An Axis victory is earned by moving at least 12 combat factors off the eastern map edge past Alexandria and maintaining them in supply for 2 turns. Allied victory may be had either by annihilating each and every Axis unit or by holding Tobruk at the end of turn 50. The rules do not provide for any shorter scenarios, just the full campaign. 4 pages of optional rules are provided that introduce historically based special event chits into the game. Event chits are double-sided, with one side being used by the Allied player and the reverse used by the Axis. Players begin the game with 2 events each and pick 1 additional chit approximately every 6 turns of the campaign and can be expended as desired. Events include common things such as bad weather to more military-themed things such as the Flak 88. Other optional rules introduce initiative, where the Axis rolls to see which player goes first in the coming turn, opening the door to one side or the other, getting 2 player turns in a row. Taken as a whole, the optional rules indicate a concern by the new design team that the game as originally released may become too predictable and/or static. I saw this during one of my playthroughs where the Allies were able to form a solid line of double defense across the map. Effectively, their 40 strength points were doubled to 80, while the Axis could only muster about 50 points in total. The Axis was pretty much stuck in place until the 8th Army decided to attack. It would be entirely possible that the Allies would just sit there for 10 or 12 turns gathering reinforcements, and effectively nothing would be going on. Very Monty-ish, but I'm not sure how much fun that would be. Now that we have hit all the high points, let's play a couple turns to demonstrate how the package comes together. So here we are at the beginning of turn 1 for the campaign. Just so that movement makes more sense to you, let's go ahead and just do a quick review of what the terrain does for that, and then we'll dive straight in. This is clear terrain. Clear terrain is what you'd expect. 1 movement point, doesn't do anything for attack or defense. This kind of brownish splotchy areas are ridge lines, and they do 2 things. They hinder movement. You cannot go across them in one move. So if you were here, moving to there, you could not move here. Okay. Likewise, if you were here, moving to the ridge line, you could not go back. You could not go down. What you could do is move along them. go up, move along them. And then if you go to a road, then you can cross them. But under normal circumstances, if you don't have roads to help you out, you're stuck on the ridge. For the turn, you move onto it. The second thing ridges do is double your defense, which is very important. However, the doubling is negated if the attackers are on this type of hex, which is a plateau. And you can tell the plateaus because they're slightly more yellowish than the clear. They have kind of an outline around them. And their hex sides are white instead of black. So when you know what to look for, they're not that hard to see. Movement is ×5 along a road, both for regular movement and for strategic movement. You can double your movement allowance using strategic movement. Remember, if the Axis have to burn supplies if they move more than 2 movement points in regular move or 4 movement points in strategic move. And they start the scenario with 2 oil points. Okay, so they don't have a lot. Other things, there's special rules for Tobruk and Benghazi. They're fortresses. They double the defense. There's no zones of controls going in or out, and there's no retreating from combat. The zones of control basically means that there's no ZOCs going in or out. That means attacks are never obligatory into or out of a fortress, Tobruk and Benghazi. And also the units inside the fort do not interfere with supplies going along a road. Even if that road is right next to the fort, there's no zones of control going out, so supplies flow just fine. Thank you very much. I think that's about all we need to know for this. So the first phase is an optional rule, so we don't need to deal with that. Second has to do with laying mines. We don't need to deal with that at this point. Then it's just move, attack, and supply check. So that's what we're going to be doing. Move, attack, supply check. Movement is single impulse, so there's no second move, and advances are only 1 hex. The game has these kind of mile markers printed every 5 hexes. And it's because the moving along road is 5 hexes along a road for 1 movement point. So each hex is 1/5 of a movement point. So they put these here as a nice way of helping you out, not having to count hexes all the time. You've got markers every 5 hexes. Every movement point gives you 5 movement. So what could be simpler? All right, so I'm going to start with... I'm going to start moving some guys off camera. I'm going to move them up. Actually, I'm not. I'm going to start with the armor. Okay? So we got a nice, happy armor unit here. He's got 7 attack points, 6 movement points. He's going to start by spending his first movement point to go up the ridge. He could go 5 hexes, but he only wants to go the 2. So that's 1. You lose all fractions as soon as you move off the road. 2, 3, 4, and he's done. He's got 7, 11. And so he's got 9-1. He's got an automatic victory on that guy because if you can get 9-1 during your movement, that does it. He doesn't burn any extra movement to do it. He just goes over there and he says, I'm going an automatic victory. And you say, yes, sir, you got it. All right, so he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and he gets another one. Hey, that's great. They're already mowing the Italians down. Okay. Second, we've got more guys coming in from just off camera. Now, they've got these mile markers. Each one shows the 5 movement points. Moving along a road is 5 per movement point, so that's very convenient. Start with we can move them as a stack. I think we'll do it together. It's going to be, he's at El Alamein. He's going to go 1 short of these mile markers, so that costs his first movement point. That's his second. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, third. This works. Okay? And he's got 10-2, 5-1. Not automatic victory, but we'll fight that out. We can give him Montgomery. And we're going to put a hurricane on him, which provides +1 attack point. Now, personally, I think aircraft are underpowered when it comes to attacking like this. Later, when I talked about kind of the static position that sometimes you can get into and how the option rules try to break that up a little bit, I think another way you could do it is just give a +1 on the attack roll instead of a +1 strength point, and that would probably be enough to solve the issue. And maybe you restrict it to only one aircraft a turn. I don't know. It'd be a little play testing, or you could do that with the with Montgomery, with the actual leaders, the Rommel and Montgomery. Just give them a +1 on the die roll when those guys are involved in the combat. It makes sense, and I think it would help out some of the gridlock that I saw happen when you got defenders all doubled up on the ridge. Probably some history there. I mean, El Alamein was like that, but just to keep the game moving a little bit or have a chance of moving it without having to impale yourself up with one-to-one attacks or worse, maybe it makes some sense. All right, this guy, he wants to go and he wants to going out for a flank attack. He wants to at least be positioned to do something. So he's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 1 point. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's another point. That's 2, 3, 4, 5. We can go here, 6. Now, the Italians, I don't think, are in a great position to do attacks this turn, and that's just fine. I don't think they're in a great position to do attacks this turn, so I'm not worried about this guy. He could get attacked from here. That would negate him being on the ridge. It would be a 1-to-1, but again, I don't think the British have to worry too much. I don't think they have to worry too much. What we're trying to do is kind of get around them a little bit. That could force them to fall back faster. All right, and we have a second airplane. There are some guys that are way out by, where is that? They're in El Alagala, which is kind of by Tripoli. So what we're going to do is put this on as a interdiction marker, half their movement allowance and no strategic movement. So that's just going to slow them down, keep them away. All right, so we have one attack. We've got 5, 10, 11, 12. We have 2 on defense. That would be 6-1. And again, for the first 2 turns, the British get +2 to all their attack rolls. 6-1 +2. That's like on the second best column. So that's, oh, he rolled it. He didn't need the +2. That's a DE. So this guy's gone too. He just gets blown away. Okay, and then the British have the option of advancing into the hex. That's all the advance you get. There's no big movement after combat if you get a DE or anything. And that's turn 1 for the British. Now we start with the Italians. For the Italian half of turn 1, again, we don't have to worry about optional phases and things like that. We can get right into their first move. And I think their first move is to be a speed bump and to get the heck back if they can. Now, we don't necessarily, we want to maybe hang on to that hex. It's not next to a plateau, which would negate the doubling. We don't want to give up automatic victories if we don't have to. And if we're on there, it would take 18 points, and they can't get that with one hex. They can't get 18 points into a hex, so they can't get an automatic victory. It has to come from one attacking hex. All right, so this guy, he has 2 movement points, but he's going to use strategic movement. Actually, he doesn't even need that. He can go 1, 2, 3. That's 1 movement point on the road. That's 2. He's going to go right there. All right, the rest of the guys are going to boogie in a more serious way. Let's just get them the heck out of here. At least back on some doubling terrain. So let's kick this guy and get him. There's the road, 1. Now he went up on a road, but he still wants to stay on that ridge. Okay, so let's have him here. That's 2. And that's it. He's got 2. He can do strategic movement. That would double it, but I think that's good enough. And then this is a pass. That's worth protecting. It will inhibit the Axis or the Allied movement. That's 1 to here, 2 to there. We're just going to just try to protect this ridge. That is a plateau hex. That would negate the doubling. Maybe we need to put some protection there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1. That's 2 to there. And then strategic move, we can go here. He still can get there, so we're going to go there. Okay, and then let's say 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to have to start guarding against the guys like this. They get 6 movement points, but then he can go 6 more with strategic move. So we don't like that. We very much don't like that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, we're going to do that. And then this guy, 1. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 2. Strategic move. 1, 2, 3. That's 3. And then, hilltop, or the plateau. What is that called again? The plateau. So we're going to have 4 points there. All right. But I think this guy on the ridge line should be enough. He's not moving. We have a couple guys, some guys off camera. He's gonna move. Now this guy has got 6 movement points. But if we go past 2 or 4 with strategic, it's gonna burn oil. I don't want to burn oil yet, so he's just gonna go into the open desert to try to continue to extend this line. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No, let's move. I'll burn an oil. 1, 2, 3, 4. He's going to go over here, and at least we're starting to force that guy really into the open desert. Okay? And then the guys we put this on, inhibiting their moving. They're way out here. They only get to move. They don't get strategic movement. And unless they want to burn oil, they only get 2 movement points. And so we're just going to have to respect that. We only have 1 oil point left. The infantry never will burn it because they only have 2 points. And he's halved, so it's like he goes 1. So 5, he gets 5 hexes. And the mobile guy gets 2 movement points, so 1, 2. So he's going to move a total of 10 hexes down the road. No strategic movement. They're done. All right, that is it for the Italian or the Axis part of turn 1. Pretty quick, pretty quick. If I wasn't doing all this talking, we would blow through this turn. All right, let's do turn 2. Turn 2, we have a couple things. We have Axis reinforcements, and we have 2 British air points. So let's have the air points here. You're not supposed to put the German reinforcements down until their half of the turn. I generally do it the start of whatever turn they come because it just keeps me from forgetting. And since they start way over on the edge of the map, I'm not worried about it. Okay. So we've got a British move. What are we going to do? They still have +2 on their attacks this turn. So that's one of the reasons why we sacrifice a unit, but they're not going to be hitting us all over the place as the Italians. All right, well, we got guys, they can just run right down the road. And so that's what they do. We have 5, 10, 11 points. They have 2. There's no 9 to 1 there, and it has to come from a single stack. So, no, we're not getting automatic victory this time. Being up on the ridge saves him. All right. 1, 1. We can go here. Let's put him up there. Nah, let's put him on the road. Put him on the road because we're going to kill this guy. The tanks could join in, but I think maybe they're best putting what pressure they can on this line because that guy's not going to be there. I mean, 5, 10, 11, 12 to 2. It's a 6 to 1 again. If we roll a 1 with a +2, he's going to take 2 hits. He's going to die no matter what. The only question is he could do 1 hit on the Commonwealth. And, okay, if it happens, it happens. This guy, he's got 6 movement points. It doesn't cost, everything's 1 movement point. Nothing more, it costs more than 1, but it does have the restriction of crossing the ridges, as I explained. So since he's on the ridge, he can go to the other side of the ridge. That's not an issue. 1, 2. You know, that's a nasty place because that also keeps him from going down over the ridge. So the only thing we could do, that's a well-placed unit. That's a very well-placed unit. Geez, ow. Well, they're not going to get a lot of movement. So this guy did his job, absolutely. The Italians are going to have to continue falling back, but hey, good job, guy. Good hex. All right, they're just going to go up here, get on that ridge line, and stop. They can't go any farther. This guy, however, can. I don't think he wants to go out there and be that lonely. The Italian infantry only gets 2 hexes. At the strategic move, you can't enter a Zoc if you use strategic move, so 2 hexes, and so as long as I'm 4 away, they can't attack this guy. So let's just put some pressure on them. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They are not going to be advancing. So we'll just go out into the desert, get ourselves situated a little bit better for next move, and we continue to move up the replacements. We've used one hurricane in the attack, and let's see, what is coming in? Oh, it's another stack of 2 units. They're not there yet. That's the one thing where you can't, officially they're not there yet, so the British can't put an interdiction marker on them. And the other guys have split up, so I'd only be getting 1 unit. How about these 2 guys? Half movement. So try to slow down this retreating party and see what that does. All right. The British have 1 attack. Again, this is 5, 10, 11 with the hurricane. That's 12. 1 doubles to 2 because we're not on a plateau attacking. So that's again 6 to 1, going to be +2 on the die. 4 goes to 6. We know that story. DE. So this guy's a goner. And the British are done with turn 2. All right, now we're moving Italians. The Tobruk garrison stays put. I think we put another guy in there, and now they've got a real defense. This guy has got no strategic move and half movement allowance, so 2 halves to 1, he only can go 1 hex. Well, now he can easily lose this doubling because of the plateau, so we have to take that into account. So the British may actually catch up to the guys this turn. I think we just kind of extend this. Now remember that 15 hex rule for supply. You have to trace back no longer than 15 hexes to a road. So if we get way out here, we're going to get to the point where we extend past what we can draw supply from the road. So that would be, well, probably here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. They can go a ways. Okay. But we have, Italians have some reinforcements. I think we're going to use our first fuel point. I think we're going to use our first fuel point. We have this guy, a mobile unit. So he's going to go off into the desert. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then strategic move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He would have to use strategic movement to catch up with this guy, which means he can't do it. He can't go into a Zoc using strategic movement. So he's safe. Next. Now that was certainly an all-out move that consumes 1 of the 2 fuel points that the Axis has for at present. They could get on beginning of turn 3. They roll on the table, and they may or may not get more. Well, actually, I see they're guaranteed to get something, but if they roll a 6, they get 1, and if they roll a 1, they get 6, and it just kind of it's a smooth curve between those 2. All right. These guys are so slow, they're just going to stay on the road. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4 with strategic move. He's just off camera up there. We have 2 new guys that have not, the Germans, or the British were not able to interdict. So we're going to move them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 11, 12. Okay, there's the second fuel point. So we're starting to get this area cordoned off a little bit. And there's one more slow infantry unit. He's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, doing what he can do to move down the road. All right. That's the Axis turn 2. We're at turn 3. And the right of the turn box, it shows a British infantry replacement. So this guy's going to come on in Alexandria. And I see British reinforcements. And oh joy, also a British withdrawal. British can lose units as well as gain them. And when you lose a unit, it could be permanent for the game, or it could be temporary, and the guy's going to reappear later. And they do it per history. There's no random rolling here. And that is this green guy, right? Oh, no, it could be that green guy. Which one is it? It's the other guy. So the guys with the tanks disappear, and they would come in turn 12. They would come in turn 12, okay? But we're not going to play to turn 12. This is a demo. But you see how that works. And then the new guy, which is this guy, he's going to come in Alexandria. You can possibly bring them in places like Tobruk and Benghazi, these more advanced bases. First, you have to own them, and the Allies do not. And second, if you try, you have to roll on a table, and it might get delayed, which means it doesn't actually come in, or it might actually lose a step coming in. So it's only guaranteed at Alexandria for the Allies and for the Germans, Tripoli. Anything else is a die roll, and you have to own it. Okay. So we're back up to British movement. They only get one aircraft this turn. So this is like printed on the turn chart. It tells you how many you get. So there we go. They get one. Well, we got to just keep going down the line here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's one movement point. I think that'd be 2. I think maybe we need to split up, though. We got to have Zox kind of doing something here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1. That's 2. That's going to be 2, 4, 8. Well, are we going to attack that guy? That's a good question. This is turn 3. We no longer have the +2 on the die. That's certainly not the weak point of the line. This looks like the weak point of the line. No. Let's not. Let's go all the way back to Alexandria where this 2-point unit is. And so let's see how far he gets. That's 1. 5 hexes is 1. That's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, he doesn't make contact. He can't make contact because he's in strategic mode now. The Allies do not burn fuel when they go into strategic mode or when they go past these 2- and 4-point restrictions. I mean, the Italians could attack him. No. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. He might be used in the attack. All right, so we're going to go back to plan A. These guys, we're not going to attack. That's 1, because you lose all fractions when you stop moving on a road. This is a pass. This is one of the places that you can actually cross the ridge line, so we're going to do that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I went to here. What kind of? Okay, we have continuous Zox. That's what I'm looking for. And now we have the 1 armored unit. Ooh, boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Well, we're going to attack this guy. It's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, no, we're not going to attack that guy. All right, so this is the Italians have once again been successful in in doing this to us. And then the guy way off the map, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, strategic movement. Moving up the replacement markers, we have a infantry replacement. Now, replacements cannot use strategic movement, but they can use road movement. He's got 6 movement points, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He can make it to here. I don't think he has to go quite that far. Oh, and Montgomery. We can have him follow the tanks. Okay. We have 1 air unit. I mean, these guys are kind of where they want to be. They got roads to help them. Yeah. There's 2 of them instead of 1 of them. I think the thing is that the British, this guy's strong here. Of course, the guys in Tobruk are strong, but the British are going to try to curl across the flank here and try to harass these guys that are strung out. And they are going to be getting reinforcements. So if they get 2 units next turn, they get 2 more the turn after that. So the British are going to get like 4 more units real quick to help put pressure on them. And the Germans don't even start showing up till turn 5. So they've got some time. Let's keep him from running away. We want to kill something. But because the Italians were able to run away enough last time, we couldn't catch up to them. Very good. All right. This would be now the Italian part of turn 3, the Axis part of turn 3. They have no replacements, no reinforcements, no air power. Oh, I take that back. Start of the top of the month. They get a die roll on the infantry replacement and fuel table. They roll a 3. So I look over here and I see there's 1 Italian replacement point and 4 fuel. So we get 4 fuel. We used both that we had, but now we're up to 4. And 1 Italian infantry replacement. Armor replacements are on the order of arrival table, so they're scheduled. That's, it's fixed for the whole game, how many you're going to get and when you're going to get them. And the reason why you need armor replacements is that to bring an armored unit that has a armored silhouette printed on it, to bring that up to full strength, you have to use an armored replacement. You can use infantry replacements to get it up to that point, but get to that last step build to get it to be full strength again, you have to use an armored replacement. Armored replacements can also be substituted for infantry replacements, but I'm not sure why you do that. Infantry replacements are more plentiful. Okay, so here is what an Italian replacement looks like, infantry replacement. And the main thing is it's only got 4 movement points. It's slow. It's slow. And they cannot use strategic movements. So they're very slow. I'm going to just move them. So he's got 2 movement points. Oh no, well, he's got 4 movement points. So we're just going to 1, 2, 3, 4. They replacements don't burn supplies. Okay. So you can move them to full 4. Let's see. All right, so how are we going to fall back more, seeing how the British have done something here? That airplane is annoying. Oops, but that's the wrong side. It should be on that side. Okay, so, well, the guys defending Tobruk are clearly going to stay put. We could just stay here and have a combat turn. I'd expect the British will do damage. Although having lost that infantry unit because it withdrew is helpful. Or we continue falling back. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we fall back that far, we can't get hit. You do have to factor in road movement. This guy has no ZOC going in or out, so this road is fully accessible for road movement. I think that would be hard, being not to be able to be hit. And these plateaus are all the way down to here. It's a big row of plateaus from like there over to there. So those ridges are pretty exposed. Well, I think they're going to do. I think they're going to possibly expose themselves a little bit. These 4 points are going to go 1, 2 to there. This guy only has one movement point. What a pain in the butt that is. Oh my, maybe we can't do that. That would really so he can go one and done. This, you see how these, in a lot of ways, the interdiction capability is more important than that extra 1 point, the way it's designed. I still think they should get a +1 on the die under some circumstances. I think that's better than a lot of the rules that make kind of extreme changes to the game, like rolling for who's got the first half of the player turn, which means that if you were the last in the previous turn, you can be the first in the current turn and get 2 moves in a row. That would be pretty extreme. But just giving a +1 with an air attack, especially since the desert is like the perfect environment for aircraft to attack in. Remember Desert Storm? It's just because you see everything. If somebody's moving, they have a big dust plume over them. It's just the ideal place to attack. All right, so let's say the 1, 2 strategic move, 3, 4. Let's say these Italians decide to draw a line. I don't know if it's a good move, a bad move, or just a move. This guy's got 1 on the road, 2. You only get 2 divisions in a hex, so they're fully stacked. Anything smaller than a division counts like half a division, and you get 2 basically stacking points in a hex. Division's getting a full stack or full point. That's 2, 3, 4. He gets to here. All right, well, we could go 3, 4. And now we have a situation where you could force soak-off attacks. All right, let's say I try that, and then we got a guy going down the road. He's going to go. We don't want to. Yeah, he will do his strategic move because he can get 4 movement points with that. This slow infantry. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. He gets it to here. He's done. And there were no others, right? Right, that was it. All right, so that's 3 turns of the game. The Italians have lost 4 units. The British haven't lost anything, which is about right for this, given that they get +2 on the dice. The Italians gave away some sacrificial units to slow the British down. They've now drawn a line that they're going to try to defend at least for a little bit. Next turn would be turn 4. The Germans start arriving turn 5. Not a lot at first, but they build turn by turn until they start turning into something. Even with that, you learn very quickly that the Italians are very important to the war effort here, which is why you don't want to lose them now. I mean, you're going to lose some, but you don't want to have a wholesale loss of all the Italians, because the Afrika Korps is just that. It's a corps. It's not a full-blown army. It's not as big as an army, and it needs some of the Italians to just fill things in so that the Germans can concentrate. Without the Italians, the Germans would have to spread out to defend all of these desert flanks. With the Italians, you can give them that job, and then you can kind of stack the Germans together to try to do something. So, all right, well, this is how the game goes. 2 players who are experienced and just want to play the game and not agonize over every last point in their attacks can make the game move, okay? I think it works if you like a game with fewer counters, low density, a lot of movement back and forth. I think the game works. It's the African campaign. What can I tell you? All right. In summary, the African campaign is a throwback to the way games used to be, but gloriously updated to the best of today's publication standards. The Deluxe edition is truly that, deluxe. In my opinion, the game would be most enjoyed by anyone who liked it back in the day. If you liked it years ago, you will love the new edition. Second, anyone who wants an approachable and physically outstanding game on the subject that comes without complication and is playable in one extended setting. However, the 1960s mechanics may not be to the liking of those wanting a deeper, more sophisticated treatment. If I want retro, personally, I'm more inclined to go with Compass's Designer Signature Edition of Fortress Europa or the yet-to-be republished The Russian Campaign. Both are John Edwards designs, but feature more modern mechanics. More units, higher density, longer playing time, and so forth. It's just me. And that is the African campaign. If you are not a subscriber, go ahead and hit the button. It helps the channel and it makes it easier for you to find what coolness I come up with next. And go ahead and leave comments. I read them all and generally write you back. If you are already a subscriber, well, you are clearly a person of superior intelligence and discerning taste. Thank you. And that's all for now, my friends. This is Paul the Oaken Knight, wishing you a pleasant evening. Thanks for watching.